Yes. Okay. There we go. Yeah. Couldn't remember. I'm over here.
How's it spelled?
H-E-L-S-E-L.
H-E-L.
All set. What you put in there about Bruce and Wilson? I told you that I'm gonna my home. Did you put it in your report? Oh, okay. I'm gonna work my smile. Yeah, good. Look like she really school.
All right, good morning again, Council.
Good morning.
All right, let's get on the record. This State of Florida versus Demons, President's Defendant. This Council and the Assistant State Attorneys, the jury, my understanding is in the jury room. So we'll be starting shortly. Anything to discuss?
From us.
The only thing I want to touch base on is, can I see you cyber up second? That's fine. Thank you.
Karen, with your permission, I'll have Ms. Curry review the witness stand.
Great. Y'all ready?
You will use it.
You ready? Okay. All set? Let's bring him in.
Jury entering.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the vote of our jury, both the defendant, Mr. Dennis counsel, his assistant state attorneys, and one of our witnesses, Ms. Curie. Madam, I just want to remind you, you remain under oath. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I trust you all had a good night. We're going to start now, I think, with the cross-examination by Mr. Edelstein. If you're ready, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Curtis.
Good morning.
I just have a few questions. You mentioned something about casings.
Yes, sir.
That you found, I think your exact word was spent casings.
Correct.
What does that mean?
So it's the exterior metal jacket that falls off or protrudes off after the projectile cycles through the firearm.
That is, if you have a bullet, the back end of the bullet, correct?
Correct.
And the reason you tested it for DNA was because there are times where you can get the DNA of a person who puts the bullet into the gun, correct?
That is correct.
And nobody has the same DNA.
That is correct.
You don't know any of the results, but that's why you tested for DNA in the casings, correct?
That is correct.
Now, you also indicated that you went to an apartment. I think it was located at 5700 Toscana Place, apartment 307.
Correct.
You knew before you went in, did you not, that that apartment was rented to Jameson Francois.
I would have to refer to my report, but I don't recall.
Okay. Good. You mentioned, and I'm going to get to it in a second, you mentioned that you went there pursuant to Detective Moretti's request, I believe, correct?
That is correct.
And that he had a warrant to search that residence.
That is correct.
Let me show you. May I approach, show this witness a document?
What is it marked? Is it marked or is it
It's not marked.
state of objection?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Let me show you, may I approach you? May I show you a document and see if this refreshes your recollection now. Point two.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Does that refresh your recollection as to whose apartment that was?
Yes, sir.
Whose apartment was it?
Francois?
Jameson Francois.
Jameson Francois.
And you met a young lady by the name of Adria Scott, I believe.
Yes.
That turned out to be his wife, correct?
I'm not 100% sure about the relationship between you.
And you mentioned in Mr. Francois' apartment there was a letter that was addressed to this young man, correct?
That is correct.
And that letter was addressed to this young man at a different address, correct?
I do not recall.
May I approach the witness to see if that refreshes the recollection?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes, it does.
The letter you found in Mr. Francois' apartment was addressed to this young man at a completely different address, correct?
That is correct.
You also found in Mr. Francois' apartment a storage key, right?
Yes.
And some ammunition, correct?
Correct.
.40 caliber ammunition.
Correct.
As a result of finding this key to this storage unit, you eventually went to that storage unit to search, correct?
Correct.
And that storage unit was owned or rented to Francois and Jameson Francois and his wife, Scott, correct?
That is correct.
In that storage room owned by Mr. Francois and his wife, you found, did you not, 3 holsters?
That is correct.
You found some gun locks in there?
That is correct.
Did you find any guns in the storage unit that was owned by Mr. Francois?
No.
Do you know if anyone questioned Mr. Francois where the guns were?
I wouldn't know that.
That's not your job.
Correct.
Can I have one moment, Rob?
Yes, sir.
And did I hear you correctly that you are in the Navy?
I work for the Naval Criminal Investigative Service.
Okay. Are you part of the military?
No, I am not.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Counsel, thank you. Is there anything further? I'll read it.
Investigator Curry, you mentioned you found some holsters.
Yes.
With regards to the holsters, was there a back strap included?
Yes, there was.
What type of back strap was it?
I would need to refresh my memory.
We're looking at your property receipt of the recovered items. I'll refresh your memory.
Yes.
Has your memory been refreshed?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Looking at the property receipt, I'll ask you again, what type of back straps were found?
Block.
Nothing. further.
Is this witness excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down, ma'am. You're excused. Counsel, want to call your next witness, please?
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Deputy Raymond Maycock.
Good morning. You are?
Good morning, Deputy Raymond Maycock.
Welcome. This is our witness stand. When you get there, what I'd like to do is just remain standing for a bit. Raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you should give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your full legal name for the record.
Raymond Maycock Jr.
Please spell your first and last name for the court.
First name R-A-Y-M-O-N-D. Last name M-A-Y-C-O-C-K.
Thank you, sir.
Please have a seat.
Thank you.
That microphone adjusts up or down, not back and forth.
Yes, sir.
You ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you introduce yourself to the jury with your name and where you're currently employed?
Good morning. My name is Raymond Maycock. I'm currently employed at the Broward Sheriff's Office in the Central and State Division.
And what's your title?
I'm a deputy, detention deputy, I'm sorry.
And how long have you been employed by BSO?
I've been employed for 6 years now.
As a detention deputy?
Yes, ma'am.
And where exactly do you work as a detention deputy?
I work in the booking area.
Okay, at the jail, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are your duties and responsibilities?
I'm responsible for processing inmates that come in and out of jail.
Okay, and does that processing include fingerprinting defendants that come in and out of the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is that? I'm going to turn your attention to February 13, 2019. What does that entail when an individual comes in?
When an individual comes in, I fingerprint them, take the first shot, and process all their arrest data.
Okay, and during the course of your normal duties as a detention deputy, did you come into contact with the defendant Jamel Demons back on February 13th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
And where did you come into contact with him?
In the processing area.
And what was your role in processing the defendant?
My fingerprinting.
And similar to your general duties, you would have processed him, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Showing the witness what was previously shown to defense counsel the state's view for identification. Deputy, can you take a look at that? It's a 2-page document, and when you're done, you can look up. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
How is it that you recognize it?
It has my CCN on it.
And what is your CCN?
It's a work ID.
Is that unique to you?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this in the same or substantially the same condition as when you last took it back on February 13th of 2019?
No, ma'am.
What's the difference?
I took the fingerprints on an electronic monitor.
And does BSO then store that electronic document in their BSO system?
Yes, ma'am.
Other than that, any change?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, at this time, the state moves into evidence what was pre-marked as State's U as State's next numbered exhibit.
Any objection?
No objection.
It'll be admitted.
States U will be marked states 27.
Deputy, do you have any further involvement with the defendant, Mr. Demons?
No, ma'am.
Do you see the defendant, Jamel Demons, in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you point him out by an article of clothing and his location in the courtroom?
You see it to my right-hand side, has on a sweater and a suit jacket.
Is that the individual that you fingerprinted back on February 13th of 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Is there any cross-examination?
Just briefly,
Thank you.
The state calls Inger Allen.
I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I received 1 year of training to become an analyst, and we did a 40-hour course with the FBI, and we do continuous training yearly to keep up to date with what's going on in the forensic science unit.
Excuse me, hey, Christopher, can we go sidebar?
Sure. want to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. I think I left off when you were discussing your forensic training, right? And you do forensic proficiency testing,
Yes,
and how often is that done?
yearly.
Okay. And how many times in your work week do you say that you perform comparisons?
Every day,
And how often in your career have you performed comparisons?
1,000.
And have you previously testified in court,
Yes,
specifically here in the state of Florida?
yes,
How many times?
86.
And in this particular case, did you receive a comparison request from the state attorney's office?
Yes, I did.
May I approach, Your Honor? I'm showing the witness was previously been shown to counsel as states double B for identification. Do you recognize page 1?
Yes, I do.
And how is it that you recognize that document?
Because I see my markings on there.
Okay, and those markings were made during the course of your comparison in this case.
Yes, they were.
Any alterations or deletions to that document?
No.
I'm also approaching with what's in evidence in states 27. Do you recognize states 27?
Yes, I do.
And how is it that you also recognize states 27?
Because I see my markings.
Okay. Is states 27 and what's currently now marked as for identification purposes is states double B what you received for comparison in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the state would move into evidence what's been pre-marked as states BB as the next numbered exhibit.
Same objection, Your Honor.
Thank you. Objection notes overruled.
States BB will be marked states 28.
Just going to retrieve this. Now, can you walk us through your comparison steps? What is that process like?
We follow a process. It's ACE-V, which stands for analysis, comparison, evaluation, and verification.
Okay, let's talk about the analysis phase. What does that entail?
That is when we look at the evidence and we determine whether it is quality enough for us to make a comparison.
Okay, and Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm going to provide these to you in case you need them for reference. States 27 and 28. So in your analysis step, what's the first thing that you're doing when you have states 26 and 27?
I am looking at the quality of the prints that we receive.
And are you using any tools to assist you in this process?
Yes, we use a 4-power magnifying glass.
And in this particular case, when you completed your analysis stage, was it sufficient for you to move on to the next phase?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and the next phase you identified as the comparison phase.
Yes.
What does that phase entail?
That's when we look for details and minutia.
Okay, and what specifically, which exhibit are you looking for the minutia and detail in?
The evidence.
So in front of you, if you can identify for the record state's number on the back,
BB.
which is now in evidence, it says 27.
Okay.
28, my apologies, 28. So you're looking for minutia and detail. Why is that important?
Because that is how I am able to determine whether it's quality enough for me to make an actual comparison.
And was states 28 of quality value for you to compare and make a comparison in this case?
Yes, it was.
And we move on to the next stage at this point, the evaluation phase.
The evaluation is where once I make a comparison and I determine that it is enough or not enough detail for me to make a conclusion, and that is when I do say yes, that is either source identification or non-ident, or if it's inconclusive, where I can't make a determination.
Okay, so there are a few options in every case, right? So you
Correct.
have source identification, you can exclude it, or it's inconclusive.
Correct.
Now, at this particular stage of comparison phase, what did you determine in this case?
That it was source identification.
Okay, and what was that based on?
That these two set of fingerprints were from the same source.
So states number 27, is that correct? And states number 28 are
Correct.
from the same source,
Yes,
meaning that the fingerprints that you compared are of the same source.
yes.
And what about the V stage, the verification stage?
Verification stage is where I give my paperwork to another analyst for them to do the technical verification of the work that I did.
Okay, and after, and before your verification step, you indicated earlier that there's some markings on the document. Are those markings, when are those markings made?
When?
Yes.
When I do my report.
So throughout the evaluation stage, before the verification stage, you're making those markings.
Correct.
And so when you're completed with the verification stage, do you formalize your opinion or your determination in writing?
Yes,
And that's placed on a report?
yes.
Your Honor, a moment to confirm. Your Honor, can I retrieve the evidence from the witness?
Yes.
And at this time, the state's requesting to publish states 27 and 28.
You may.
Publishing states 27.
Excuse me, Garrett.
And you should be able to see it in front of your screen, but states 27, you indicated the markings. Are those at the top left right here that I'm pointing to?
Yes,
Those markings that you've made?
yes.
Now publishing states 28. And the markings that you referred to in states 28, are those here that I'm pointing to on the bottom right?
Yes,
And you indicated that the source of the identification on states 28 and on states 27 were the same source.
yes.
Nothing further.
Counsel, is there any cross-examination?
I have nothing to say. Thank you.
This witness excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down. You're excused. Counsel, want to call your next witness, please?
Judge, at this time, the state would be publishing the additional video from state 7, and we'll be doing that very quickly into evidence.
And actually, there's some videos into evidence as well. Your Honor, pursuant to public records, I'm moving to evidence that was pre-marked as state CC as the next state's number exhibit. I've
Show it to
previously
counsel.
shown it to counsel. This is what you're on.
Is there any objection?
Just to the relevance, Your Honor, objection relevance.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, right?
That'll be admitted.
Let's schedule it.
State CC tomorrow states 29.
Your Honor, permission to publish dates 29.
You may.
That completes the publishing of State's Exhibit 29.
And at this time, the state resumes publishing of State 7. Channel 1, October 26, 2018, time on video 0208. Channel 1, October 26, 2018, time on video 21111. Channel 1, 10/26/2018, 2:17:43. Channel 3, 10/26/2018, 2:11. Channel 3, 10/26/18, 2:17:34. 10/26/18, 2/19/35. Ten 26/2018, 2/20/07. Ten 26/2018, 2/21/28. Ten 26/2018, 02/28/38. Ten 26/2018, 2/11/10, Channel 4. Channel 4, 10/26/2018, 2/17/43. 4, 10/26/2018, 02/21/37. Channel 4, 10/26/2018, 02/28/54. Channel 6, 10/26/18, 02/10/56. Channel 6, 10/26/18, 02/11/28. Channel 6, 10/26/2018, 02/17/33. Channel 6, 10/26/2018, 02/19/37. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/21, 28. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/22, 42. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/24, 29. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/25, 34. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/27, 09. Channel 6, 10/26, 2018, 02/28, 38. Channel 7, 10, 26, 2018, 02, 11, 03. Channel 7, 10, 26, 18, 02, 11, 10. Channel 7, 10, 26, 2018, 02, 17, 36. Channel 7, 10, 26, 2018, 02, 20, 11. Channel 7, 10, 26, 2018, 02, 21, 32. Channel 7, 10, 26, 18, 02, 28, 48. Publishing of State 7. I just asked for 5 minutes to check with my witness outside to make sure they're ready to go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short recess. Do not discuss the case. Don't form any opinion about the case. Don't allow anyone to discuss the case in presence. Certainly no research should be in your favor. Thank you. Thank you. Let the order reflect the jury stepped out. Counsel remain along with the defendant. You need a restroom break?
Yes.
No, you're.
Oh, I thought you were looking right at me.
He's recognized. No, he's good. All right, we're in recess. Thank you. counsel as stated?
Yes.
Okay.
I see.
But Brad is asking for two.
Counsel, you all set, ready to go?
Yes, sir. Council just reviewing the last set of photographs.
Who's your next witness?
Shannon Thompson.
Can we approach, Your Honor?
Sure. On the record, please. State of Florida versus Devens, President, Defendant's Counsel, and Assistant State Attorneys. There's an adjourner room. You want to approach? Yes, sir. On the sidebar?
Side.
Yes, sir. Thank you. What's this state? The case I'm looking at, counsel, is Rodriguez v. States, Supreme Court of Florida, May 26, 2005. And had notices as a general rule, members of the victim's family should not identify a victim at trial where non-related credible witnesses are available to make such an identification. This rule prevents interjection of matters not germane to the issue of guilt and ensures that the sympathy of the jury is not evoked by the emotional testimony of the family member. So that's the general rule. So you're telling me you don't have someone other than the family members to identify the body as a credible non-family member to do that?
Representation is not credible. Secondly, in light of that, the defense is arguing for that's very in the state rejecting that offer to say an offer to family member and claiming that they can claim about and those instruments speak for a little bit of it. We would say that's bad.
Thank you. Anything else? I accept your representation. The biggest concern I have is anything on emotion. She does not get emotional. Where that's what this is all about. That's all well and good. I don't know what the testimony of the witnesses will be, but they're indicating defense will be stipulated to account.
Same, we're stating it on the record. Why does it have to be written?
What's that to be indicated?
It's a written stipulation, it needs to be introduced into evidence and be able to go back to the church.
So, Counsel, are you going to do that?
We can just have it by the, we don't have a printer and I can do it, or she can print it out for us.
I mean, I don't think it needs to be.
Sure. So it's stipulated to, And this is for the same thing for the, you said that Anthony Williams, the same thing for the other alleged victim? Yes. Yes? Everybody agrees? Okay, so you can do that.
Okay.
All right, so who's next?
Chris Carter.
Who is it?
Princeton.
Can I bring the jury in now? You ready?
Yes, sir.
You ready, jury? Jury entering. Thank you. Please be seated. Let the record reflect the presence of the defendant, Mr. Devens, his counsel, his assistant state attorneys, and ladies and gentlemen, the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, we're glad to report the state is still on its case in chief, so I'm going to ask Madam Prosecutor, Ms. Bradley, with what you with us, please.
Christopher Carter.
Christopher Carter, please. Thank you. Good morning. Are you Mr. Carter?
Yes, sir.
Welcome. Come on up here. This is our witness stand. When you get up there, sir, what I'd like you to do is just remain standing for a bit. Raise your right hand. You sworn?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your full legal name for the record.
Christopher Allen Carter.
Please spell the first and last name for the record.
KRISTOPHER
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Mr. Carter, that microphone in front of you will adjust up or down, not back and forth.
Sorry, repeat that.
It'll go up or down, but not back and forth. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Counsel, you may.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you today?
Good, yourself.
Could you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury and say where you work?
I'm a crime scene investigator for the City of Fort Lauderdale Police Department.
And so, Investigator Carter, how long have you been with the City of Fort Lauderdale as a crime scene investigator?
I am coming up on 4 years as an investigator with the City of Fort Lauderdale.
Prior to working for the City of Fort Lauderdale, where did you work?
I worked for the Miramar Police Department.
What did you do for the Miramar Police Department?
I was a crime scene technician for about 3 years.
What were your jobs responsibilities as a crime scene technician for the City of Miramar?
To respond to crime scenes and observe, document, collect, and preserve evidence.
When the 3 years you were there, can you give us a rough time frame?
I started about August of 2016 and transferred to Fort Lauderdale July of 2019.
What types of training and education did you have to work in crime scene?
I got my associate's degree at the Broward College in crime scene and also have over 100 hours in training related to forensics and crime scene investigation.
Are you required to do continual training on a yearly basis?
When able to do the budgetary reasons, yes.
With regards to the training and stuff that you've completed with the Miramar Police Department before you started engaging in casework, can you describe a little bit about that?
The training that I went through, like I said, was the associate's degree in the program through Broward College, and within that you are who are taught how to respond to crime scenes, how to observe crime scenes, how to observe evidence on crime scenes, and how to properly document and preserve those pieces of evidence and collect them.
Are you trained specifically in areas such as photography?
Yes.
What types of training and experience do you have in photography and documenting a crime scene?
During the associate's degree, I went through a particular class that was geared towards forensic photography, and that was aside from the main forensics degree program.
For forensic photography, what type of equipment do you use?
You use a digital camera, a external light source typically to better illuminate the pieces of evidence. That would be a flash, and that's about it.
I want to go to October 26th of 2018. Did you have an occasion to be involved in a Miramar police case investigation under case number 18-10-06269?
Yes, it did.
At that point, where were you employed?
At the city of Miramar Police Department.
What was your role in that case at first?
I was requested to respond to the Broward County Medical Examiner's Office to observe the autopsies that were executed there, and also to process one of the decedents, and then later on to process the vehicle that was involved in the crime scene.
So at the medical examiner's office, can you describe to ladies and gentlemen of the jury where that's located?
It is located in Davie. I do not have an exact address, but
Is it within the city of Miramar?
no, it's not.
So after you left the medical examiner's office, did you return to the city of Miramar?
Correct.
You indicated you helped in processing a vehicle.
Correct.
Did you take photographs while you were processing that vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Approximately how many photographs did you take?
I believe it was around 422.
Prior to coming into court today, did you have a chance to review a much smaller selection of those 422 photographs?
Yes, I did.
Are these showing you what's been marked as states D for identification? It's a composite of photographs. Did you have an opportunity to look through these before you came into court today?
Yes, I did.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the photographs you took on October 26th of 2018?
They do.
Here at this time, the state would request them as states D and as states 30 and published to the jury.
Is there any objection?
No.
So they'll be admitted as composites, is that correct?
That's correct, Your
How
Honor.
many photographs?
I have to double check on that. Just a moment. I believe it is 65.
States DD to remark states 30.
I'm sorry, what number?
30.
Thank you.
Investigator Clark, you can touch the screen as well to indicate areas of interest. 65 photos, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Starting with photo number 1. What is this?
This is a photo identifier that we would take prior to the crime scene to properly show the date the photographs were taken, the case number related to it, and the type of case and the location where the photographs were taken.
What location is 2811 Southwest 186th Avenue?
That is the Miramar Police Department substation.
Okay. The next photo, what are we looking at here?
This is a piece of evidence tape that was used to seal the garage that the vehicle was kept in.
Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is the evidence tape seal for?
The evidence tape seal is, like it should be explained, is sealed to show that nobody has entered the premises from the time of when the investigator sealed the premises to when now I'm responding and photographing the seal.
Was this seal here at the bottom of the large doors still intact when you responded?
Yes, it was.
Moving on to the interior door. What are we looking at in this photograph?
Again, you were looking at a seal of evidence tape that was placed by the investigator prior to their leaving, and then when I arrived, I photographed the seal to show that it was still sealed upon my arrival.
Moving on to the next photograph. What are we looking at here?
This is Detective Mark Moretti reading the search warrant for the vehicle.
The vehicle in question, what is it?
It was a Jeep Compass.
Is that the same that's indicated on that photo in the red lettered writing?
Yes.
Moving on to the next photo. What are we looking at in here? I'm going to zoom in here to the hood area.
That is another piece of evidence tape used to seal the vehicle in the same way that we sealed the premises prior to a search warrant. The vehicle and all of its entries are sealed prior to the search warrant being executed.
So, for example, now looking at the screen down here at the bottom of the passenger side doors, that red item, is that the same evidence tape we've been looking at?
Yes, it is.
Moving on to the next photo. What are we looking at in this image?
This is showing the front passenger side portion of the vehicle.
Moving on to the next photo.
This is showing the exterior of the front passenger side and rear passenger side doors.
Have you begun executing and searching the search warrant at this point?
No, I have not.
So what is the purpose of all these exterior outside photos?
All these are to document the vehicle in which I found it when I responded to the search warrant, and all photos are taken prior to execution of the search warrant.
So again, going to the rear door seal, was that one still intact?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And the rear trunk seal, was that one still intact?
Yes, it was.
The initials MK that are on that, do you know who those belong to?
Yes, that is Michael Kelly, which was my supervisor at the time.
You read my mind as to my next question. On the back of this vehicle photo, what is the tag number of the Florida tag that was assigned?
India Echo Kilo Delta 22.
For those of us not in law enforcement, can you please translate?
IEK D22.
The India Echo Kilo Delta that you just used, what is that commonly referred to? The alphabet.
Fanatical.
Going on, what are we looking at on this image?
This is showing the driver's side exterior of the vehicle.
And going to the seals on this particular item.
Sorry, repeat that.
The seals right here on this particular area or item of the door. Was it intact?
Yes, it was.
Moving on to the front door seal at the bottom between the front driver's door and the rear driver's door. Was this seal also intact?
Yes, it was.
As to the state of the windows of the car, had they been manipulated in any way while you were taking these pictures?
No, they were not.
Moving on to the final picture of the evidence tape here on the driver's side door by the A column near the hood. Was this evidence seal still intact?
Yes, it was.
What was the VIN or vehicle identification number of this vehicle?
3C4N JDD B2 JT 198929.
The first photo that we're looking at here was now inside the vehicle. Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you're documenting in this photo.
From here, I took photos of the exterior of the vehicle. Then the doors of the vehicle were opened up, and as is, without anything being moved or disturbed, photographs of the interior of the vehicle were collected.
So you say without being anything moved or disturbed. What do you do to make sure that you're not contaminating any of the evidence?
I wear gloves prior to each time touching the vehicle, and that goes with touching my equipment, going back to the vehicle, and vice versa.
The front passenger side view that we're looking at right here. Later on are the items collected,
Yes, they are.
and we'll get to that in a little bit. With what area of the car are we looking at here in this next photo? My apologies.
That is the area between the front passenger seat and the door jamb for the front passenger door.
Okay. Next photo, what are we looking at here?
That is the front passenger side floorboard.
Moving on here, the seats, did you manipulate them in any way before taking this photograph?
No, I did not.
Moving on into the next photograph, what are we looking at there?
Those are gold caps for teeth.
And so it's clear that that's a close-up photo from this rear passenger door. Is that a correct statement?
Yes, that's correct.
When we're looking out this rear passenger door, what are you documenting in this particular area?
I'm documenting the interior of the rear passenger door and the door jamb for the rear passenger door, as well as the seat and the floorboard of the rear passenger.
Moving on to the next image, what are we looking at in this photo?
That is a spent projectile.
So I'm going to go back a photo. Is that the same projectile that is down here?
Yes, it is.
Going forward again, what are we looking at in this image?
That is the rear passenger side floorboard and the items that were found there.
Continuing to the next photo, what are you documenting in this image?
In this image, you can see the partial back of the front passenger side seat, the, again, floorboard of the rear passenger side floorboard, the rear passenger side seat, and a projectile hole that you can see defect onto the seat.
And so I'm going to zoom in on an area. Can you explain what you're talking about, the projectile hole?
Yes.
And you can use this screen to touch if you're to draw attention to certain areas.
I observed a defect in the seat that is later on gone into detail.
Okay. Moving on to the next image here. What are we looking at?
This is the rear passenger side seat as well as the rear center console, again, cup holders, and partial of the rear driver's side seat.
This area in the center with the two spray cans, is that how you found it, in the down position?
Yes, it was.
In this image here, can you describe a little bit about what's the red and white plastic item on the bottom on the floorboard? What is that?
That is a plastic bag.
Okay. What are you documenting in this image?
This image shows the trunk which had been opened, and in the photograph you can see the car manual and a jacket.
Did you disturb any of the glass? Did any of the glass move when you were opening that trunk?
Not that I recall.
What are you, in this next image, I'm going to go back one. Did you open the rear trunk to get better photographs inside?
Correct.
Is this the interior of the rear trunk lid?
Yes, it is.
Can you kind of describe to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury as to how the trunk lid is, and how you're taking the picture so they can orient themselves in space?
Correct. In this photo, the orientation is staying at the back of the vehicle. The hatch trunk is opened up, and I'm looking upward at the interior of the trunk.
And so why did you take a picture of this white fuzzy stuff?
I observed a projectile defect.
Moving on to the next photo. What did you document here?
This is a yellow jacket that was found inside the trunk that I observed red stains on.
Why would you document red stains?
Because of the presumptively would be blood.
Did you do any presumptive testing at this point?
Not at this point.
Moving on to this next image. What are we looking at here?
This is the rear driver's side seat. From the vantage point of the driver's side door. It shows the driver's side seat, the driver's side floorboard, as well as some of the cup holders and rear passenger side seat.
Next image, what are we looking at here?
This is also another photo of the rear driver's side and cup holder.
Next image, what are you focusing on in this particular image?
This photo shows the rear driver's side floorboard, which has a Gatorade bottle, a cap, and a white plastic bag.
Moving on to the next image, what are you showing here?
In this image, this shows the interior of the front driver's side door and the somewhat of the interior of the front driver's side seat and floorboard.
Moving on to the next image here, what are you looking at?
This image shows the steering wheel, partial of the front driver's side seat, the center console, and the side of the front passenger side seat.
On the next image now, we have a little bit different. Why do you put these yellow numbers?
These numbers, at the time I called photo markers, now with my agency I refer to them as placards, so I might refer to them also as placards. But these placards show and denote items of interest that will later be collected, and it's easier to recall back to a certain item and to show where that item is.
As you're documenting and collecting the evidence, do you use these photo markers in your reports and notes?
Yes, I do.
So, to go back to the photo of 1, 2, 3, 5, where did you collect the items at photo marker number 1?
Yes, I did.
Do you maintain the liquids that are inside of them when you worked at the Miramar Police Department?
I do not recall.
As to photo marker number 3, did you collect the items of evidence that were there next to photo marker number 3?
Yes, I did.
Moving on to photo marker number 6, did you collect the gold teeth that were in that pocket there?
Yes, I did.
Item number, item number 7, did you collect that item?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
That was the spent projectile.
For item that's at photo number, marker number 8, what was that and did you collect that?
I believe that is denoting the pair of shoes. Yes, I did.
Okay. And to go to a better picture for photo marker number 9, did you collect the item at photo marker number 9?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
That is a cell phone.
As to photo marker number 10, did you collect the 2 Sprite cans that were there?
Yes, I did.
Going on to the rear of the vehicle, photo markers 12, 13, and 14. Did you collect the various items listed in this photo?
Yes, I did.
Did you have help and assistance in processing this vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Who helped you?
Crime scene technician Tara Carroll.
Did you guys have a plan of attack as to how to process the vehicle?
We split up the vehicle into certain sections, and each processed those areas of the vehicle and collected the items that were in relation to those areas.
So it's clear to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what section were you assigned?
I was assigned to the driver's side of the vehicle.
In your report, how did you write down which side you were responsible for?
In the report, it shows that swabs were taken from the passenger side of the vehicle, which was incorrect in the report, and was later shown as a correction in the primary receipts, as well as the original swab boxes that were collected on scene.
So let's stop for a second there and explain when you're collecting swabs, what are you doing?
I am using sterile distilled water and placing that onto a cotton swab and passing that over, rubbing that over an area that in which I either believe there may be the presence of DNA, and that area is processed with the swab, then placed inside a sterile swab box, and on that swab box I notate where that item was, or what item was swabbed with those swabs.
So let's go very minute, detail by detail. First thing you do is what? When you're getting the swab in the area, you swab an area. Do you change your gloves?
Correct.
I want very precise.
Yes. I get my new pair of gloves out of the box and take the new sterile swab, open the swab packaging that is sealed and sterile, and open up a new sealed container of sterile water, and that water is then placed in drop form on the top of the swab, and then the swab is then rubbed over the area in which I intend to process.
Do you ever dip the swab back into the sterile water and sort of double dipping, for lack of a better term?
Never do that.
Okay. After you swab the area, what's the next step you take?
The swab box is opened, the swabs are put inside the swab box, and then that swab box is closed, and then I notate on the swab box what item was processed with the swabs.
Do you complete the property receipt at that same time?
I do not.
When do you complete your property receipt?
The property receipt is completed later on in the office, when the item is then going to be submitted to the Evidence Bureau.
When do you do your report?
The report is done following, usually when all work is done.
Okay. So in terms of the most accurate description of what that swab is of, what would that be?
The note on the swab box.
Okay. So going back to the photos, and in terms of the process and the timing, when you're doing the swabs, is it before these photos, after these photos, just so the jury understands the way you process the car?
The way I process it is I remove all items that are deemed as evidence, and I remove those from the vehicle. And then prior to any other processing, whether that be latent prints, the car is processed for possible DNA, and then from there to latent prints.
And to be clear, did you do any of the latent prints in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Moving on to the pictures with item markers or photo markers 10, 11, 16 here. Were those items 16, 11 collected?
Yes, they were.
And forgive me. In terms of the numbers and the item numbers, was there a time or a number that you collected 1 through 15, 1 through 20, the items, and Ms. Carroll collected the others?
Yes, there were.
And do you recall which specific photo markers and items you were responsible for collecting?
I would have to refer to my report.
Would you looking at your report and refresh your recollection as to that?
Yes, it would.
If I may approach that?
Yes.
I do. Can you refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Okay, that being said, I'll ask again. Which items or photo markers were you responsible for collecting? numerically?
Items 12 through 20 were the items that I collected.
In terms of these photographs, they were all taken by you. Is that a correct statement?
Correct.
Moving on to item number 18 and 17. Did you collect those two?
Yes, I did.
19 and 20 as shown here. Did you collect those?
Yes, I did.
What are we looking at in this photo here?
This photo shows the trunk portion of the vehicle with the hatch covering the spare tire removed.
The processing here again at the, what location of the car on this photo or next one?
This is the front driver's side floorboard.
Okay, you have, and what photo marker is here?
19.
So what are we looking at here underneath the brake pedal?
That I believe is a spent projectile.
Is that then marked with photo marker number 24 that we're looking at in this photo?
Yes, it is.
And item number 23, the glasses case. You were documenting that? Sorry.
Correct.
On to photo marker number 25. Did you take these images here?
Yes, I did.
Photo marker 26. Did you take those?
Yes, I did.
Are these the items that were in the glove box?
Yes, they are.
In terms of this enterprise receipt that we're looking at here, does that vehicle description listed on this enterprise receipt and VIN number match the Jeep Compass that you've been looking at?
No, they do not.
And the name of the individual who rented this vehicle, was that on this enterprise receipt? On the, and not the Jeep Compass, my apologies, I'll rephrase. The enterprise receipt, did it have a name of a renter on it?
Yes, it did.
And what was that?
Jamerson Francois.
I'm going to move on to the next photo here. What have you done to document the scene in this photo inside this Jeep?
In this photo, it shows trajectory rods that were placed inside of the projectile defects to show an approximate path of the projectile.
Excuse me, can we approach? Sure.
Investigator Carter, as you were saying, explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what are these green, red items that are now in the back seat of the Jeep?
These are called trajectory rods, and like I said, they are used to show the approximate path of the projectile when it struck the surface.
How many trajectory rods are in this photo that we're looking at here?
There are 7.
Going forward to the next photograph, what are we looking at here?
This is the opposite side of the rear passenger side seat, showing the trajectory rods coming through.
Objection. Same objection?
Yes, sir.
Overruled.
Again, showing what?
Showing the trajectory rods coming through the back of the rear passenger seat and through to the front of the rear passenger side seat.
And can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you place them?
The trajectory rods are placed through one defect, pass through the object, and then through the other defect on the opposite side.
Going forward to this next photo, all the other items of evidence have been removed. So I want to go for time frame. How long after the initial processing are we talking where you're doing these trajectory rods?
I do not have time for that.
When we're looking at this photo here, what are we looking at?
This is the rear driver's side interior door and floorboard seat.
Looking here at this photo, what are you documenting and where is it in relation to that last photo?
I am documenting a projectile defect that was in the door jamb of the rear driver's side door.
And so I'm going to go back to the last photo. If you could circle a couple of times on the screen the area that you are photographing in the next photograph. Okay. And going to the opposite angle view of that. Can you again circle the defect so it's clear? And to get this photo, how did you have to position the rear driver's side door?
The door had to be fully opened and the defect had to be photographed from looking from the inside of the vehicle out.
Okay. So going on to the next photograph here, you mentioned prior that there was a projectile on the seat that you recovered.
Correct.
Is this the process you had to undertake?
Yes, it was.
What did you do? Tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
I used a scalpel to remove the top layer of the leather, and it showed a projectile that was situated inside the phone seat.
Is this another view of that process?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you assign a photo marker to that item and collect it?
Yes, I did.
And what are we looking at this image?
This is an image of the projectile as it was removed from the phone to be fully photographed.
Okay. So those 65 photos that you took at the processing of the Jeep, is that been, we've gone through all of those. I'm going to move on now to the photos that you took of the items of evidence that you collected. Investigator Carter, I'm now showing you what's been marked as states EE for identification purposes. Do you recognize those photos?
Yes, I do.
Did you have an opportunity to review them before you came into court today?
I do.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the processing that you did of the items collected from the Jeep?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, at this time, the state requesting of states EE in as states 31.
Any objection?
No objection, but with the same representation that the disc contains only those photos.
That is correct, Your Honor.
No problem.
They'll be admitted with that representation.
States EE, mark states 31.
And that is 21 photos. So starting here at item number 12, what are we looking at here?
This is the yellow jacket that was collected from the trunk of the vehicle.
What, in terms of the item number 12 that's on here as well, is that the same yellow jacket?
Yes, it was.
Is the number 12 consistent every time you're using or photographing something from photo marker number 12?
Correct.
The other item that we see on here, kind of the L-shaped gray and white, what is that?
That is a scale.
What's the purpose of having that in your photographs?
The scale shows the size of the item that you're looking to document, and the scale also has parameters on it that allow it to be fixed if not taken at the correct angle.
Understood. Moving on to the next photo, is this the opposite side of item number 12?
Yes.
What do you do in between items to ensure that there's no cross-contamination?
In between items, the paper on the floor where the item is placed is changed every single time, and my gloves are changed in between touching my camera and going back to the evidence.
When you say the paper that's down there, what is that? What specific type of paper do you use?
It's called a brown craft paper.
Is it ever reused during the course of a case?
No, it is not.
Moving on to the next photo, what are we looking at here?
That is a sock, a Jeep Compass user guide, and a box.
And what photo marker were these documented at the previous set of photos?
Photo marker 13.
Going on to this next photo, still at photo marker 13. What are you showing here?
I am showing the opposite side of both the sock and the Jeep Compass user manual and the interior of the box.
Moving on to item number 15. That is what?
That is a disposable lighter.
Did the Miramar Police Department policies and procedures allow you to maintain that item in evidence?
No,
Why not?
because of the combustible nature of the liquid inside.
So the documentation of this evidence is just the photographs.
That is correct.
Moving on to item 16. What photo marker were these items documented under?
Photo marker 16.
And what are we looking at here?
This is a belt, a disposable lighter, a pair of scissors, and a blue container.
Inside the blue container, based on your training and experience, what did that substance appear to be?
I observed a green leafy substance inside of the container.
Did it have any odor associated with it?
I do not recall.
Moving on to the next item number, what are we looking at here?
This is a Gatorade bottle with red stains on it.
And what photo marker was it documented at?
Photo marker 17.
Moving on to the next photo marker, what are we looking at here?
This is a water bottle, I believe a black plastic cap, a Gatorade bottle, also with red stains on it, and a white plastic bag with red stains, and containing a green plastic cap and a spent bullet casing.
Moving moving on to the next photo. Where was this casing located when you took the item out of the car?
The casing was located in a white plastic bag that was found on the rear driver's side floorboard.
Was it visible until you removed the bag?
No, it was not.
Moving on to this next photo with the scale and the large number 18. What are we looking at here?
This is a closer-up photo of the spent cartridge casing that was collected from a white plastic bag.
And if you'd be so kind as to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is on the next photo that we're looking at and have zoomed in on.
This is the head stamp of the spent cartridge casing that reads Blazer 40 S&W.
And I'm not going to assume anyone is familiar with firearms or anything of that. So could you please give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what is a bullet cartridge or an unfired bullet?
A unfired bullet comprises of a projectile that is in the front end of the cartridge casing, and the cartridge casing comprises of gunpowder, a primer, and when the primer is struck, the gunpowder there's an explosion that happens within the cartridge casing, expelling the projectile.
In a revolver, what happens to the casing, the cartridge casing that we're looking at here?
The cartridge casing stays within the cylinder.
If it is a semi-automatic firearm or automatic firearm, what happens to the casing?
The spent cartridge casing is ejected through the ejection port on the semi-automatic weapon.
So the projectile that we're looking at in some of the other photos, that would be contained with a casing to make a unfired bullet.
Sorry, repeat that?
So for some of the projectiles that you've seen in the other photos that you documented, like for example at photo marker 7 and 24, on those would be part of an unfired bullet along with a casing.
Correct.
Moving on to the next item that you collected. What were these?
These are 2 white sandals and a blue plastic container.
Is this a different blue plastic container than the one that was in the back seat?
I do not recall.
Then determining the contents of this blue plastic container, what did you observe inside?
I observed an unknown green leafy substance.
Moving on to item number 20. Where were these items recovered from?
These were at photo marker 22. To know where in the vehicle they were collected, I would have to refer back to it.
Understood. So after those photos were taken, I want to now move on to the items that you actually collected.
Ladies and gentlemen, council is advised that this is probably a good time to break for lunch. So remember the admonition we gave you previously, you are not to discuss the the case during break, obviously you're not allowed to discuss the case period. Don't discuss the case, don't form any opinion about the case going on, anyone discuss the case in present. Certain, research, leave your notepads at your chairs, and it's now 12:30, so we'll see everybody back, let's say, at 1:45, all right? Have a nice lunch, thank you.
Did you collect the 2 Sprite cans that were there?
Yes, I did.
Going on to the rear of the vehicle, photo markers 12, 13, and 14. Did you collect the various items listed in this photo?
Yes, I did.
Did you have help and assistance in processing this vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Who helped you?
Crime scene technician Tara Carroll.
Did you guys have a plan of attack as to how to process the vehicle?
We split up the vehicle into certain sections, and each processed those areas of the vehicle and collected the items that were in relation to those areas.
So it's clear to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what section were you assigned?
I was assigned.
Joseph, I want to talk a little bit about the importance, Dina had mentioned it before, that you have to, as a prosecutor, put this evidence in. It shows credibility of the investigation if it's done correctly and that you dotted I's and you cross T's. But from a forensic analyst point of view, if you have to testify on the stand and you have to offer an opinion, how much easier is it for you, or if they don't do it, how hard is it for you if these kinds of forensic pictures and things that they've done were not present? And did you think they did a good job from what we're seeing right now?
Yeah, from what we're seeing, and again, I have to caution our viewers about these images, because some of these, because I think they're probably using them on what's referred to as a limb in court, and so the contrast that you're seeing is kind of blown out at this point in time. It has nothing to do with our production staff. It has everything to do on that end, so it doesn't translate real well as far as fine detail. I suspect that these are pretty detailed photographs where you can get a real feel for what happens, because when it comes to photography at a crime scene, Bob, you essentially become a historian as a crime scene tech, and you're freezing that moment in time that is gone forever and ever, amen. And so you have to start off with what we refer to as macro photographs, where you're getting the exterior of the vehicle all the way around 360 degrees. I tell my students to follow the points of the compass. And then you step in and you get kind of an intermediate range where you get closer up on the outside, and then you go for micro photographs after that. And it all depends on how the prosecutor utilizes these photographs. It's not necessarily the fault of the crime scene tech. How are they using? Because as you well know, you guys that prosecute cases, you're telling a story, and it's like taking pictures and putting it in a book. we take the pictures, but how are you going to utilize those pictures in order to make the jury understand and to transport them back in time to that moment when all of this evidence was captured?
Dina, let's talk death penalty cases again. And having tried them, I know that these jurors need to be absolutely convinced in the guilt phase of the case. And then, of course, the prosecutors have to meet those aggravating factors. Here we have a case where two people are being charged with this crime. If the government is not able to show who the actual shooter is or the circumstances under which the shooting took place, which very well may have occurred in the car, it may have been spontaneous. One person may not have had. I've had cases like this, had no idea this was about to go down. Do you think the jury can, even if they win the case, can rise to that level of satisfaction that the jury knows exactly what happened here? Because to me, it's really important the jury knows exactly what happened and what the motive is. Even and again, motive's not an element of the offense, but we're asking jurors to execute people.
I think that's a great question. And the defense kind of brought this up a little bit in opening because they want to use lack of motive to even help him get an acquittal. But I think your point is right that it is especially important in the death penalty phase because you are asking for, like you said, it to be premeditated. And, you know, with them not having any kind of motive, it leaves it very reasonable to assume that this could have been just an argument and an instantaneous type shooting. So I think that is going to be hard in the death penalty. And not only that, but Florida just recently changed the law, as you know. So there will only need to have 8 of the 12 jurors be deciding for the death penalty, which obviously helps the prosecution because you could have 4 people think that the motive wasn't good enough and this wasn't the death penalty enough. So this is certainly the first high-profile case out of Florida where we're seeing that reduction to the 8 jurors. And so it will be interesting to see how that plays here if it ends up to the penalty phase.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point. Having tried a death penalty case, I would love, although I don't think it's good for the interest of justice, to make it 8. Why not 4? Let's drop it down to 1. And if they can't get 1, let's just have the judge make the call. I guess eventually we can reduce it to a point where everybody can be convicted. Excellent point, Dina. And so we are going to take a quick break here. We're going to come back with more of this testimony, more of a discussion of what needs to be done by prosecutors to convince jurors to actually impose the ultimate penalty. And at lunch break, we may have an opportunity for you guys to ask some questions and debate about that because you are our juror. We'll be right back.